This week's Parsha opens up with the story with the Jews marching out of Egypt as free men. Bechalach paro es ha'am. They march into the desert, feeling all happy and elated. And then they look into their rear view mirror, and they see the Egyptian army pursuing them from the rear. And that just sends shivers up their spine. Because the Egyptian army at that time was extremely sophisticated and mighty. And the Jewish people were no match for that army. And they scream out to Moshe, "Why'd you take us out of Egypt?" And they went into complete panic mode. And Moshe says, "Relax, guys. Just be quiet. And we're about to witness one of the greatest miracles of all time." And they march towards the sea. And Moshe, with the command of God, lifts up his staff, splits the sea, and the Jews march to the other side to freedom. Not only that, but the Egyptians that pursued them drowned in that sea. What a powerful story. But how can we relate to that in our daily lives? The Talmud says something very interesting. Kashin bizonosav shel adam kekriyas yamsuf. A person's livelihood is as difficult as splitting of the sea. Not only that, the Talmud says, Kashin zivugo shel adam kekriyas yamsuf. Finding one's spouse is as difficult as splitting of the sea. That seems to be a very bizarre analogy. Splitting of the sea to finding one's livelihood. Splitting of the sea to finding one's spouse. What can be the possible rationale for such an analogy? Many times we find ourselves in a difficult situation, either in a personal crisis or a predicament of a larger scale. And we wonder to ourselves, where will the solution to this problem come from? Where will the salvation to this crisis emerge from? And we think it may come from my bank manager, it may come from some cousin, it may come by moving to a different place. And then, many times, the solution emerges from the most improbable source. From the least likely scenario does this salvation come from, many, many times. And that is exactly what happened with the Jews at Yam Suf, at the sea. They were pursued by the Egyptian army, and they were pushed into a corner by the sea. They look to their right, they see the Egyptians. They look to their left, they see the sea. And they wonder, where's their salvation going to come from? And then, from the most improbable source, the sea itself, which split open, they march over to the other side. And that many times is a story in our lives. When we look for our livelihood, or we're searching for a spouse, we think to ourselves, well, if we just do X, Y, or Z, then we'll be okay. And then, many times we are surprised that the solution comes from the most improbable source. Folks, I think the message is loud and clear for us. We can just see what's in front of us. God sees what's outside the box as well. And He can make the solution come from the other side of the sea, on top of the mountain, or the other side of the country. It's just as easy for Him. Let us be strengthened from that message and be inspired to find Hashem's hand in our daily lives. Have a wonderful Shabbos.